Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Mai. It's day 2 of the government shutdown. House Republican leaders this morning clarifying why they reject Democrats' counter-proposal to reopen the government. We have updates. President Trump deciding which agencies and projects to cut amid the government shutdown. What Trump says about the agencies he's considering. A terror attack on a synagogue in the UK leaves 2 dead and 3 seriously wounded. Police say they have identified the attacker and have arrested 2 additional suspects. Secretary Bessent says the government will support struggling soy farmers. China has placed a single American soybean order this fall. A flag of communist China flies over Philadelphia's City Hall, sparking outrage from lawmakers and human rights groups. Why are critics calling it a betrayal of American values? Pennsylvania State Senator Doug Mastriano joins us with his response.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. It's day 2 of the first government shutdown in 6 years. Democrats and Republicans voted against each other's bills yesterday again. This morning, Republicans were eager to clarify their position. NTD's Melina Weishaupt has the latest on where negotiations stand now.
This morning, Republican House leaders spoke to reporters with the goal of clarifying why exactly they're opposing the Democrats' counter-proposal. Listen.
There's nothing I can pull out of the bill that was a Republican priority to say, oh, we won't do that. Why don't you guys vote for it now? I don't have anything. I didn't put anything in it. The California loophole allows taxpayer-funded Medicaid for illegal aliens. We eliminated that in the big, beautiful bill. Their repeal, their counteroffer is to repeal and reverse that. That would cost $34 billion of U.S. taxpayer funds. Number 2, a provision that prohibits Medicaid from paying more for emergency care provided to illegal aliens than it does for American patients.
Johnson doubling down that the responsibility, he says, is 100% on them, referring to Senate Democrats. The Senate won't vote again until Friday. Today they're out for the holiday Yom Kippur. The question now is if Friday's upcoming vote will be an identical replay of what we saw with yesterday's vote in the Senate, as well as the vote before that. A reporter asked the Speaker this morning if senators should stay if that vote fails again on Friday. Speaker Johnson said, of course, and noted that the House will be back next week to hopefully have something else, he says, to work on. That leaves the door open for an alternative continuing resolution to be sent back from the Senate for the House to vote. Perhaps one with minor changes like a shortened extension. We also should take into account that following yesterday's vote, it looks like more bipartisan discussions are shaping up. Listen to this.
As long as members are talking to one another, there's always a chance for a solution. People are talking about all kinds of ideas. I'm not going to speak for my colleagues that are offering different ideas. You can chat with them as well. But there's all kinds of ideas that are being shared, and ideas that some I imagine would support, and ideas that some might not support. But without a conversation, you never get to the next step.
So what that senator was referring to was a bipartisan group of senators seen talking on the floor yesterday during votes, but not many details on what exactly they were negotiating. Senate Leader John Thune and Chuck Schumer are expected to speak again about the shutdown, though Thune admitted he doesn't know what will come of that meeting. The broader picture here, though, is that Republicans and Democrats are doubling down on their positions for now.
Now, we know a big part of what makes this shutdown different from previous ones is that the Trump administration plans to pursue mass firings of federal workers. Details are sparse on how many or who exactly is first on the chopping block. But White House says the cuts to the federal workforce are imminent. Reporters from several media outlets have pressed House Speaker Mike Johnson on if he feels at all responsible for these permanent firings that are soon to take place. Here's what he said.
Because they have decided to vote to shut the government down, they have now effectively turned off the legislative branch, the Article 2 branch of, or the Article 1, sorry, the Article 1 branch of our government. And they've turned it over to the executive, okay? So in that situation, when Congress turns off the funding and the funding runs out, it is up to the Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, to determine how those resources will be spent. He has that responsibility given to him by the Democrats in the Senate. They can't complain about it.
Meanwhile, Democrats say the mass firings won't bully them into voting for the Republicans' clean stopgap funding bill. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the federal layoffs would be made very soon. She said this morning that the numbers could be in the thousands. Take a listen.
Look, it's likely going to be in the thousands. It's a very good question, and that's something that the Office of Management and Budget and the entire team at the White House here, again, is unfortunately having to work on today. These discussions and these conversations, these meetings would not be happening if the Democrats had voted to keep the government open. We believe there will be a vote taking place tomorrow, and we hope that vote will lead to the government reopening. That's what the president wants to see, and that's what we're working on today.
While the government remains shut, the Trump administration is placing holds on some federal funding. Billions of dollars in projects have been paused or canceled. Here are the details on that.
The Department of Energy has announced more than 200 renewable energy projects are being canceled. The move, it says, will save taxpayers more than $7.5 billion. The administration says it will cut climate-related funding across 16 states, including for projects in California, New York, and Massachusetts. White House Budget Director Russ Vought described the cancellations as ending what he called green new scam funding. This comes as President Trump said on social media that Republicans should make use of the shutdown to clear out, quote, dead wood, waste, and fraud. Trump said billions could be saved. In New York City, $18 billion in federal support for the Hudson River Tunnel and the 2nd Avenue subway has been put on hold. Vought said the step was taken to ensure spending was not based on what he called unconstitutional DEI principles. The Transportation Department said Wednesday it was reviewing whether any unconstitutional practices were occurring at the two projects.
Unfortunately, the previous administration had loaded up every grant agreement with their own social justice priorities, none of which were required by statute.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul told reporters Wednesday that Washington has decided to put their interpretation of proper culture ahead of the country's needs.
President Trump will be meeting with Russ Vought, director of the Office of Management and Budget, amid the government shutdown. In a post on Truth Social today, Trump said he will meet with Vought and determine which of the many Democrat agencies he recommends cutting. Trump called most of the agencies a, quote, political scam, and said he and Vought will determine whether the cuts are temporary or permanent. Trump added that Democrats had given him this unprecedented opportunity by not voting in favor of a stopgap funding bill. In an interview with One America News set to air today, Trump also commented on his plan.
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault, and it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut. So you could say, a lot of people are saying Trump wanted this, that I wanted this closing, and I didn't want it. But a lot of people are saying it because I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place, and I will probably do that.
Vought has said that federal workers could expect mass firings within a day or two. According to a memo circulated by his office, agencies should prepare for major reduction in force plans. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ opened at record highs today, following weaker than expected private payroll data yesterday. The news fueled hopes for interest rate cuts even as the government shuts down, limits economic reporting. Traders are relying on alternative data, including yesterday's ADP jobs report, which showed a decline of 32,000 private sector jobs in September. The shutdown has forced the postponement of key government reports. That includes weekly jobless claims and Bureau of Labor Statistics data. That leaves investors to weigh corporate earnings and market trends instead. Despite the data gap, the S&P 500 and Dow Jones reached record highs yesterday, and optimism about AI and rate cuts continue to support equities. Precious metals surged, with gold trading above $3,900 an ounce as investors sought safe havens amid economic uncertainty. The government shutdown has put the brakes on the flow of federal economic data, but history shows the economy usually doesn't suffer when the government is closed. Here's why.
The U.S. government shutdown has thrown the brakes on the flow of federal economic data at a moment of uncertainty. But if history is any guide, the shutdown itself is unlikely to have a lasting impact on the U.S. economy. Part of the reason is the previous 20 shutdowns have been short, lasting about a week or less. They are a headache for the Federal Reserve, especially now as policymakers seek clarity on the employment picture and inflation. Those policymakers won't get the monthly jobs report and other data until the government reopens. They will have to rely on private surveys. Sometimes those are viewed as a poor proxy for the government data. The Fed cut interest rates last month for the first time since December on growing concern about the job market. Financial markets see a near certainty of another rate cut at the central bank's next meeting this month. Though Bonrion Capital Management founder and CEO Shana Orzik-Sizzle says the shutdown could impact this.
I do think the lack of economic data of some of the larger economic data points that the Fed pays attention to could delay the Fed from cutting further.
Meanwhile, even though hundreds of thousands of federal workers are on furlough and a range of important government services are suspended, shutdowns themselves don't typically move the needle for the economy. It depends on what's happening around the shutdown. Stocks took a hit during the last shutdown in 2018, but rebounded quickly, according to Robert Conzo, CEO and managing director of the Wealth Alliance.
Last one was during the Trump era, was 35 days from December of 18 to January of 19. The market dropped, and it started a week before the actual shutdown, so there was a lot of anticipation. Dropped around 15%, then quickly came back and rose past that. Typically, there's headline risk, markets drop, but then they typically come back.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the federal government will support American farmers and amid China's refusal to buy U.S. soybeans. In an interview with CNBC, Bessent said today he met with President Trump and the Secretary of Agriculture. Here's Bessent.
We have great Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Three of us were in the Oval yesterday, and you should expect some news on Tuesday on substantial support for our farmers, especially the soybean farmers. They've had President Trump's back, and we've got their back.
Chinese importers have not bought soybeans from the U.S. harvest this fall. This is costing U.S. farmers billions of dollars in lost sales. Bessent said it's unfortunate that China is using American soybean farmers as a hostage or pawn in the trade negotiation, but he's still hopeful there will be a major breakthrough in trade negotiations. Bessent expects that to happen during the next round of talks. That will be an in-person meeting between Trump and Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping. It's set for late October at the APEC summit in South Korea. And joining us now to discuss is China analyst and author of Feeding the Dragon, Chris Fenton. So good afternoon to you, Chris. Now, China buys 60% of soybeans traded worldwide. It's an enormous market, obviously. It's also an example of how the CCP will use that kind of leverage against its trading partners. So, I mean, is this a hint for our farmers to diversify away from China, or is it too difficult and expensive for farmers to change course?
Well, the fact of the matter is we have 4 foreign adversaries as designated by the U.S. government: China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. China being our biggest trading partner, we are in the middle of trying to do a strategic decoupling while also avoiding any sort of kinetic conflict. And the fact is, we're going to have farming as one of the big pawns that is used in this trade negotiation, soybeans being a big factor in that. And we're going to have to incentivize farmers to rotate those fields towards things that also use similar pH in soil and similar equipment in order to do the row cropping. And those typically are wheat and corn products. So we're going to have to move them off of that. There's a lot of other strategic decoupling that we're doing that's going to also have to force certain habits to change in terms of production here in the United States across all industries.
So it seems like Secretary Bessent wants to make a deal with the CCP. He's confident that they can reach a deal. I mean, if we look at China's record, even in the first Trump administration, the country didn't live up to its commitments. How do you see this?
Well, unfortunately, I see it through a 30-year lens of working side by side with the Chinese on the other side of the table. And unfortunately, a lot of times you do think you have a deal done, and then you find out there's further negotiation that continues to be ongoing. I wouldn't expect this to be any different. I think Bessent has seen this happen before, just in the short amount of time that he has been Treasury Secretary. Lutnick also has experienced the same as a Commerce Secretary. And I don't see any sort of final resolution on this particular negotiation for any sort of short period of time. And we're going to see that across the board in all the negotiations we have with the other superpower across the Pacific.
All right, Chris, there's another topic I wanted to discuss with you today. So you are a movie executive, and the president just announced a 100% tariff on foreign movies. How do you see that playing out, and what impact will it have on Hollywood?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, Trump has pulled the fire alarm in terms of making people aware of the amount of manufacturing we've moved offshore in every industry, including that of Hollywood. We've offshored roughly 60% plus of our production over the years. In particular, it started in 1994, doubled by 1998, and here we are today at 60% plus. So there's going to have to be a mix of reward and punishment in terms of trying to change the behaviors of the studios. Personally, being part of the business, I'd rather see it more on the reward side, which probably means setting up a federal film commission, something myself and several of my peers were back in Washington, D.C. talking about on the Hill 2 weeks ago. If we can complement state subsidies and rebates so that we can be competitive with places such as the UK or Canada or South Africa or Australia, we're going to start incentivizing studios to move production back here on a reward basis. It's going to make the P&Ls much better, and it's going to make a lot of us able to actually produce our best in the world content here on our soil, much closer to home, which all of us would prefer.
Okay, Chris, I don't exactly understand when Trump says the movie industry has been stolen. Can you explain what that means?
Well, it's been stolen on a couple levels. One is on the input level, the production side. All of our best-in-class tradesmen and actors and creatives have been pulled offshore in order to make the product that we make best in the world. On the output side, we also see countries stealing the way that we tell these stories in terms of how they would like their own narratives told in these movies that we make that we're trying to distribute around the world and monetize. We saw that with China in terms of how they were trying to steer plots and characters and various franchises towards narratives that Beijing held dearly and wanted Hollywood to portray to audiences around the world. So it's a combo of both on the production side and also the creative and how we distribute these movies around the world and how these countries want their stories told or our stories told in their markets.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up because I know you worked with NTD's Tiffany Meyer on Hollywood Takeover, right? And this was a documentary about the CCP's influence in Hollywood. Do you think Trump's tariff plan will help to counter that type of influence from the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, it's interesting. China is not a big issue when it comes to moving manufacturing offshore for our country. There's not a lot of incentives and rebates over there. So it's not a problem on the production side. On the output side, on the monetization side, we've also lost that market. We taught them how to make comparable types of projects over there in their own domestic industry, and now they cater to their own people much better than we can. So we've lost that market on two fronts, production and on monetization. Where I see China influence is definitely going to continue in areas such as TikTok if we find out that it's not fully bifurcated from Beijing like we are told it's supposed to be. And on top of it, we still see it in academia. We see it in social media in various instances. There's a very strong lobbying effort in part on Beijing's behalf. And then on top of it, we also see capitalism and companies, global companies that want entree into that market, continuing to carry narratives that are part of the soft power initiatives of Beijing.
Can you talk to us about how do you even define an American movie?
Well, it's the same way we might look at, say, Apple. We look at Apple as an American company. The hardware is designed here. A lot of the invention and the IP and the patents is done here in the US, but then a lot of the manufacturing, a majority of it, is offshored and then brought back onto our shore. You could argue the same thing is similar in terms of Hollywood. The creation of the IP, the creation of the stories, the packaging of creatives involved with those projects, whether it's producers, writers, directors, actors, a majority of them do tend to be Americans. And then in order to take that package and go produce it, we sometimes take it offshore. In fact, over 60% of the time we do. And then it's brought back here to monetize. So very similar in terms of the way other industries work. It's just this one is in the creative business and is slightly more, I guess, ambiguous as far as watching how you touch and pull the actual production process. It's not steel in a manufacturing plant.
Okay, Chris, I just have one more question that I'm wondering here. How much of Hollywood's current production is actually done overseas right now? And will the tariffs slow down production?
Well, it's over 60%. So I think tariffs are going to be very difficult in terms of how you change the behavior of studios, because tariffing film is probably very intricate and very complicated. I think, as I said before, I think rewarding studios for keeping manufacturing here through a federal film commission, one of which would complement or essentially compete with the other 77 nations that have nationwide federal film subsidies, will allow us better P&Ls to bring back the production here and to keep the jobs here in the United States of America.
Well, okay, Chris, it was really intriguing hearing your insight. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
A terror attack on a synagogue in the UK leaves 2 dead and 3 seriously wounded. Police say they have identified the attacker and have arrested 2 additional suspects. Stay tuned for that story and more when we come back.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth, without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
Is deep sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritang Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritang Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
2 people were killed and 3 others seriously wounded in a synagogue attack in Manchester, UK today. Authorities said the suspect was killed by British police. The attack happened today on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. Greater Manchester Police said they were called to the Nation Park Synagogue, the Heaton Park, actually, this morning. The caller said he witnessed a car being driven toward bystanders and that 1 man had been stabbed. A police bomb squad was investigating a potential explosive device in the attacker's possession. Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he was shocked by the attack.
Additional police assets are being deployed to synagogues across the country, and we will do everything to keep our Jewish community safe. I've spoken to Mark Gardner of the CST and Andy Burnham, Mayor of Manchester, and I want to thank the emergency services for the speed of their response.
British police have declared today's attack on a synagogue near Manchester an act of terrorism. The UK's senior counter-terrorism officer said an investigation is underway.
At Counter-Terrorism Police, we're deploying all of our capabilities in response to what has happened. And we have resources from across our network involved. We will ensure every piece of intelligence and line of inquiry is interrogated.
Officers have made 2 arrests and have stepped up patrols across the country. Greater Manchester's police chief said that the assailant rammed his car into bystanders before attacking others with a knife. The police chief added that the suspect was wearing a vest that appears to show an explosive device. 4 people remain hospitalized. Meanwhile, London residents reacted to the attack. Watch.
No, people, I'm not feeling safe. I'm not feeling safe. I'm not a Jew. I'm not gay. I'm an immigrant, but that was like 35 years ago, so I don't feel very safe.
Well, it's not good, is it? It's like a Christian having this kind of thing on Christmas Day or Easter. It's just an attack aimed specifically at that kind of person.
Meanwhile, police and security guards stood watch outside synagogues in New York City. Congregants gathered at historic temples, including Central Synagogue, Temple Emmanuel, and Fifth Avenue Synagogue. The NYPD posted on X saying the department was monitoring the developments in Manchester. The post read, quote, "At this time, there is no known nexus to NYC." The department said that increased patrols showed a visible police presence around city synagogues. The NYPD added, quote, "As always, if you see something, say something," followed by the tip line 1888 NYC SAFE. New York City is home to more than 1 million Jews, the world's largest Jewish population outside of Israel. Philadelphia raises the flag of Communist China at City Hall despite protests and criticism. We'll be speaking to State Senator Doug Mastriano, who calls the event a terrible idea. Stay with us after this break.
That first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. I was already trying to change my perspective of life and really just be a father figure that I never had. Being present is the most important part. I'm still growing every day. Becoming a better version of myself. To be the better mirror for my son. I mean, he's just grown. He's becoming his own person. Man, at first I saw him dance, bro, he brings the vibes, you know what I'm saying? He brings the party no matter what. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody. And I love him to the death of me.
There is a road laid out for me.
Boxes everywhere. And this is gonna be Addie's room.
I am blind.
You're really gonna like it. I hope so. Yeah.
I know this road is there for me. There is a long way.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Waist down by the river. I am blind.
got this.
Okay. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
Blocking traffic and even throwing pots at police officers. Protests erupted across China in the days leading up to yesterday's anniversary, marking 76 years since the Chinese Communist Party took power. Beijing has been holding events each year to mark the day. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has the report.
In China's southwestern Yunnan province, dozens of street vendors clashed with urban law enforcement and police last Saturday. Vendors threw pots and stools during the confrontation. The clash broke out after local urban law enforcement officers suspended their stalls and asked for extra fees. The vendors refused, saying they had faced eviction before, even after paying what was required. For many vendors, their stall is the family's only income.
Authorities could have asked what our demands are, but they didn't. They just came to evict us. We have to make a living. My kid has to go to school.
When vendors refused to leave, tensions boiled over, leading to clashes with the officers trying to evict them. After one vendor was beaten, others started throwing objects from their booths at the police. Several vendors were reportedly hurt and arrested. Authorities also took some food carts. Similar protests are happening across the country. In central Henan province, street vendors blocked traffic last Thursday to protest the closing of their night market. They want compensation from local authorities. In southern Guangxi province, villagers surrounded police after officers arrested a man defending their rights. The villagers were protesting against a company trying to take their forest land for mining. The crowd left only after police released the man. Up north in Hebei province, residents blocked roads for 2 days outside the local administrative office to protest the demolition of their homes. Their houses were torn down for urban development 7 years ago, but the residents say they still haven't received new housing or compensation to help with the move. Also in Hebei, construction workers blocked a highway toll booth to demand payment. They helped build the highway, but say they haven't been paid a cent.
We put sweat and tears into this, but you didn't pay us after finishing the job. What are you doing?
Local media covered the new highway opening but left out the protest. And further north, in China's Inner Mongolia region, about 200 small business owners protested for 4 days outside the local administrative office against higher heating bills. They clashed briefly with police. After the protest, officials canceled the price hike.
Meanwhile, Philadelphia raised the flag of Communist China at City Hall earlier this week. The event was co-organized by a group with ties to the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. It was supposedly intended to commemorate the communist takeover of China. The event was met with criticism and protests from human rights activists and lawmakers. One of them was Pennsylvania State Senator Doug Mastriano. He said it was a terrible idea. Senator Mastriano joins us now. Good afternoon to you, Senator. So first of all, why is this such a terrible idea? What message is it sending when we're raising the flag of a regime that is known for severe human rights abuses?
Yeah, on 2 levels. On the American level, United States, Philadelphia is a birthplace of liberty, where our Declaration and our Constitution were signed. Documents documents that are rooted in freedom and human dignity. The communist Chinese flag is the opposite of all of that. You think about the Chinese that fled after Mao took over China, Chiang Kai-shek's forces, and the irony is not lost on me. The Japanese begin the war at the Marco Polo Bridge in 1937, and who does 90% of the fighting? Chiang Kai-shek and the National Forces. Meanwhile, Mao runs off into the mountains and hides. He does a little bit, but hardly anything. And then he comes in when the nationalists have been, just bled by the Japanese, brutal fighting. Then he comes out and he takes advantage of the opportunity and crushes the country. Millions die between his takeover, the purges, the Cultural Revolution, just about 100 million dead. Now, if you're an ethnic Chinese American and you see that flag going over Philadelphia, that must be an insult to you, your parents, and your grandparents who suffered underneath the atrocities of Mao and his legions.
You know, Senator, I was talking to one guest yesterday. He's a researcher and a historian. He said this is akin to raising the Nazi flag. You just don't do it. He says there's nothing to be proud of 76 years of CCP rule.
I agree. What kind of madman thinks it's a great idea to raise a flag of a country that has 100,000 deaths on their hands, up to 400 million aborted babies, almost 500 million babies aborted with the one-child policy, a regime that continues to attack Christians, attacking and arresting pastors, destroying churches, going after the Uyghurs, the Muslim majority out west, going after Falun Gong, any ethnic majority that are reaping the organs of many prisoners, such as Falun Gong, especially a $1 billion organ industry they're doing. The mass surveillance of their country. We think about Tiananmen Square and the thousands of people that stood up for freedom and were killed or arrested. We don't even have the numbers on that. And that the idea that it's a great idea to raise the flag that symbolizes oppression and persecution and the opposite of the American ideals, is repugnant to me. And of all cities, Philadelphia should not be doing this.
And you know, Senator, how do you think the CCP is reacting to this if they're not celebrating already? I mean, there's something inherently wrong, I think, if your enemy or rival or adversary or whatever is celebrating something you're doing.
Yeah, yet Napoleon said, never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. And clearly, the Chinese, they must be, the communists in Beijing must be laughing their pants off, because what kind of ridiculous message is this send? America, we say that we're the defender of freedom, we represent human rights and freedom of choice, and everything that communist China is not. And you look at this, and they must, when the leadership of the Communist Party in China looks over, they must see a bunch of useful idiots in Philadelphia, because who would do this? It is an insult to anyone of ethnic Chinese background that you would do this here, especially for people that fled the persecution, that seek asylum in America, that have raised a family and enjoy freedom, who still have relatives back home. And what an insult this is. And you just can't make this stuff up. To do it, of all places, I just did an event in Philadelphia on the 12th of September commemorating when our Congress in 1782 endorsed the Bible, the Aiken Bible. And we did that event there. Our history is rooted there. And just down the street, a week later, here they are raising that red flag that represents blood and murder and oppression and everything anathema to our ideals as Americans.
What do you say to that Philadelphia officials saying that this event is about promoting cultural exchange?
What a profoundly ridiculous, stupid, and naive statement. I would ask them to open up one history book or go to Google and simply type in, list the atrocities of communist China since their takeover in 1947, and you could account for up to 100 million dead, and it goes on today. We think about COVID-19 in Wuhan. We don't even know what happened there. There's another cover-up from communist China that affected the entire world. I think it's a great idea. While Tibetan monks are being thrown in jail, while Christian pastors are being arrested with underground churches, while Falun Gong followers are being in prison and having it ordered out to be sold on the international market. And this is a great idea to raise the flag of a country that represents all of that. No, thank you.
And Senator, you brought up a great point earlier. I mean, how does this affect America's credibility abroad in terms of its credibility on human rights? Does this promote the CCP sort of in a way for its global image?
You said it exactly right. This does endorse and promote the policies and ongoing activities of the Communist China Party within China. It acknowledges the fact that we're going to ignore the atrocities and overlook this, all in the goal of having better cultural ties. What does that even mean? I just don't know what's going on. You know, Philadelphia for 7 years is a Democrat leadership here. It's time for a change because these people don't know what they're doing. And this kind of idea is very reckless. It shows great weakness in America, and it undercuts everything that the Trump administration is trying to do to reassert American morals and ideals around the world, especially in China.
Okay, Senator, let me just ask you one more thing. What would you like to see done to increase understanding of this issue? What do you say to those who say this is just a flag?
Well, I think this helps. I'm thankful for your outlet here that you highlight the significance of this here. Because, you know, many of the folks that we're talking about here suffered under the regime. You know, in World War II, the United States supported the nationalists under Chiang Kai-shek to fight the Japanese belatedly because a war had gone on since 1937. But the links and ties that America has with the nationalist Chinese, especially in Taiwan now, the legacy of Chiang Kai-shek, between the Flying Tiger volunteers, the Burma Road getting supplies in over to and the fighting that happened, we're looking at about 3 million casualties. And we think about the sacrifice of those great men and women who lost their lives. We did a bombing raid on Japan called the Doolittle Raid in April 1942. Our bombers had to land in China, and 250,000 Chinese people gave their lives to smuggle out a handful of American pilots. And we need to remember the greatness and the great ties America once had with China. The current flag, the CCP flag, does not represent the values and ideals that our fathers and forefathers fought for. So the flag needs to come down, an apology needs to be issued, and we need to stand for all that is right and good and not push a flag that represents death.
Okay, Senator Mastriano, such a pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored. God bless you.
As the Chinese Communist Party marks 76 years of rule, Chinese people in the U.S. and worldwide are protesting its brutal tyranny. Let's hear their stories and what they're standing up for. NTD's Flora Hua has the report.
This is the U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C. Chinese pro-democracy activists across America gathered to tell the world October 1st is not their national day, but a day of mourning for all of China. During times of peace, tens of millions of Chinese people have died under the CCP's tyranny. From the violent political campaigns and the Great Famine to the Tiananmen Massacre and the COVID-19 pandemic, these Chinese protesters marched in front of the Chinese embassy, Capitol Hill, and the White House. Younger generations also took part in the anti-CCP movement, raising awareness of the Chinese regime's tactics.
On one hand, the CCP maintains authoritarian rule through repression. On the other hand, it uses united front tactics to deceive and divide us.
Moving north to Canada, Taiwanese, Hong Kongers, Tibetans, Uyghurs, and people from different backgrounds also held anti-CCP demonstrations in front of the Chinese consulate.
CCP lies, people die! It creates controversy around the victims that it creates propaganda about, and it creates fear in the public for speaking out against the persecuted groups.
Falun Gong, a spiritual discipline originated in China, has been persecuted by the CCP for over 25 years. International rights groups report that the regime even steals organs from imprisoned practitioners for huge profits.
The CCP trades in live organs and continuously imprisons dissidents who oppose it. This, among other actions, represents the greatest harm that totalitarianism has inflicted on our present generation of human civilization.
Chinese people in Germany and the Netherlands are also calling for an end to the tyranny of the Chinese Communist Party. Flora Hua, NTD News.
And for more exclusive China news and in-depth analysis, tune in to China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on NTD. A man in Britain was arrested over an anti-Hamas social media post. Police questioned him over allegedly stirring racial hatred though later they released him without charge. He claims it's an attempt to terrorize him and others to self-censor online. Our international correspondent Malcolm Hudson has more for us from London.
A man in Britain was arrested over a meme he shared criticizing the terrorist group Hamas. Pete North, a 47-year-old political analyst, filmed officers at his Yorkshire home in North England on September 25th, who told him they had got a report that he had posted something on the internet that someone didn't appreciate.
What, you're taking me away now?
Yes, so you're under arrest, so you're going to Harrogate, unfortunately.
You're taking me to Harrogate in the middle of the night over a tweet?
I am, unfortunately.
Is this what you signed up the police to do?
This is my role. I'm trying to be reasonable with you here.
The video has been seen over 3.4 million times on X alone. North said he was held in solitary confinement and interviewed at the police station. He said that's when he was first told the arrest was over an anti-Hamas meme. In Britain, Hamas is a proscribed terrorist organization.
I just could not believe that they were arresting me for that.
A spokesman for North Yorkshire Police said a man was arrested on suspicion of publishing or distributing written material intended to stir up racial hatred, and has been released on bail while inquiries continue. But North claims the arrest was an exercise to scare the public into being politically correct online.
This whole episode was an exercise in terrorizing me. They're doing this to a lot of people. And I genuinely believe the intent is to intimidate a lot of mid-ranking influencers to get other people to self-censor. That's what I think this is really about.
Pete's father, Richard North, also a political analyst and author, said British police have codes of practice that set out parameters for making legitimate arrests.
Any objective observer looking at those criteria will see that they were not met when the police arrived to arrest Peter. They should not have arrested him.
He said there were other alternatives, which the police should have pursued but did not. For example, calling Pete in for an interview instead. The clip of his arrest has garnered lots of attention on social media, with discussions about the state of free speech in the UK. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has previously defended free speech on both of President Trump's visits to the country.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time here, so we're very proud of that. We have had freedom of speech in this country for a very long time, and we will always protect it.
Though Pete North disagrees with Starmer's claim.
It's bizarre. I don't know how he can say that with a straight face.
Police are making further inquiries into the alleged offence. North said he expects to meet police again on December 21st to be told whether they intend to charge him or not. Until then, just days before Christmas, he said the stress will hang over his head. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, London.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky urges European leaders to form a united front against Russia. NATO members Poland, Estonia, and Romania all reported recent airspace violations by Russia. Zelensky is attending a summit of European Union leaders in Denmark today.
The recent drone incidents across Europe are a clear sign that Russia still feels bold enough to escalate this war. And it was never just about Ukraine. Russia has always aimed to break the West and Europe in particular.
He added that Ukraine is ready to share with European nations how to handle Russian drones. NATO and EU member states recently also agreed to build a so-called drone wall, which would detect and destroy incoming Russian drones. Zelensky praised the idea today, saying it would protect all of Europe. And in more positive news, Russia and Ukraine report exchanging prisoners of war. Both sides say they received over 180 soldiers and 20 civilians. According to Russia, the swap was in line with agreements reached at the last round of peace talks in Istanbul in July. Germany's defense minister also commented on the recent drone incursions by Russia. He highlighted the threat but said this should not make people forget about Chinese and Russian spy satellites.
We must not overlook the fact that even as we sit here, we are all being observed and filmed by Russian, Chinese, and other satellites.
He added that Germany is addressing drone countermeasures at all levels after recent violations by Russia. This ranges from laser technology to net firing drones and electronic jamming, but he said that jamming incoming drones becomes increasingly difficult. The defense minister compared it to a never-ending game of cat and mouse to see which side can develop its technology faster. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Secretary Pete Hegseth go to Memphis as law enforcement agencies ramp up operations to fight crime in the city. Stay tuned for that story when we come back.
For 65 years, Mathis Home has been helping you create the room of your dreams at great values. Come celebrate with anniversary savings store-wide. Check out their amazing selection of upholstered beds. Here's a hot buy. This modern queen bed is covered in a soft, luxurious fabric. It's available in 2 colors for just $5.99. There's over 100 bedrooms in stock, so you're sure to find the style just right for you with fast, free delivery. Come celebrate with 65th anniversary savings at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Kids love it. Parents trust it.
Obviously.
Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Gyeong Campus courses led by expert educators.
This is spectacular.
Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more.
Wow.
All while having fun.
Perfect.
Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9. The highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Federal law enforcement agencies have begun on operating in Memphis. Top members of the Trump administration met with Tennessee Governor Bill Lee in Memphis yesterday. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on that and the first arrest that's coming in.
Tennessee Governor Bill Lee says the state is grateful to be a willing partner with Washington.
I'm grateful that President Trump has decided to make a priority of making great cities like Memphis safe cities.
Attorney General Pam Bondi sent a message of support to local cops.
All of the Memphis police officers, all of you, we are here to have your backs. All of the law enforcement officers in this room.
The Attorney General had a stark warning for those who would put their hands on police.
If you touch a law enforcement officer, it is a crime and you are going to jail.
Bondi says officers should be able to fully carry out their duties.
And we want cops to be cops again. You can go out there and you can do your job.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said no amount of gratitude for what cops do is enough.
What you do in difficult places, in dark places, in dangerous places, where politicians spend a lot of time second-guessing you.
Hegseth says the federal government is there to help liberate the police.
To provide National Guardsmen who can secure facilities and secure law enforcement, stand alongside you so you're freed up to go out and provide safety and freedom to the citizens of Memphis, a great American city.
White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said Washington will provide Memphis with a level of support they can't imagine.
This is a all-of-government unlimited support operation. We are sending in real cops with guns and badges to go out with you on the street every single night making arrests.
Miller said the task force will target crime across the entire city.
The idea that there is a square inch of block in this city where a citizen doesn't feel safe is unacceptable.
FBI data has Memphis topping the list of U.S. cities with the most violent crime, with over 2,500 violent crimes per 100,000 people. Opponents of the deployment say it is an unnecessary federal occupation of a city that instead needs more funding to address poverty and other drivers of crime. Attorney General Pam Bondi released stats for the first 48 hours of the operation. The Memphis Safe Task Force made 53 arrests and seized 20 illegal firearms. A missing juvenile was also located, and 3 firearms were recovered at the home of a murder suspect. The task force is part of a larger effort by President Trump to use National Guard troops and surge federal law enforcement to make American cities safer. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And following the shutdown, states across the country have been scrambling to keep their national parks or monuments open to the millions of visitors that frequent them. A contingency plan released by the Department of the Interior says some national parks will stay partially open with reduced staffing and services. For example, Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona will remain open with some visitor services reduced. The Lincoln Memorial and Thomas Jefferson Memorial will still be fully accessible throughout the shutdown. And the governor of Colorado says all 8 of Colorado's national parks that collect fees will remain open until fee revenue runs out. The U.S. enters its second day of a government shutdown. We talked to a lawmaker about the impacts and how we got here. Stay with us.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. you'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Call the number on your screen